June 6th, 1944. Gino Merli and about 35 other fully armed soldiers are crammed into landing crafts, about to land on Omaha Beach. Many of them are scared, and nearly all of them are unaware of what will happen when the ramp drops and they begin their run on the beachhead. These beaches were covered with mines, artillery, and German infantry, yet the American soldiers prepared dauntlessly. An estimated 3,000 soldiers were killed, wounded, or missing after the beaches were secured. Fortunately, Gino Merli wasn't one of them. Gino Merli was part of the 18th Infantry Regiment, 1st Infantry Division. This division, also known as the Big Red One, is acknowledged for being right on the front lines from World War II, even to present-day deployments to Iraq. It is indecisively said that Merli received 2 minor battle wounds on this day. Although the truth is unsubstantiated, it is likely to be true with the intense firefight on the beaches. As you can see, an HQ has been set up as they plan for their next offensive, bringing Merli one day closer to his renowned act of heroism. He and his division are about 6 months of fighting away from that day, and little do they know of the conditions lying ahead of them. Nearing close to November, the American forces are pushing hard on their march through France towards Germany, their final objective. They have already been through many encounters with German forces that are unspoken for their insignificance. Nevertheless, they have endured more than just enemy offensives. The harsh conditions of the rigorous winter and insufficient supplies are quelling both their soldiers' health and morale as they reach their next great encounter of the Battle of the Bulge. Now, on September 4th, 1944, with offensives by day and often trench fighting by night, Gino Merli's greatest hour has come. It all happened on that long night at Sars-de-Breuil, Belgium, during a superior German attack on Merli's company. After their position was overwhelmed, Merli remained at his machine gun, covering his company's retreat. As many fellow soldiers were dying around him, and the Germans continued pushing, he decided to feign death as they walked over his position. After they passed, he would rise again and fire at them, obliterating their push towards his fellow company. Amazingly, Merli then repeated this act several times, although, as they passed on one occasion, a German soldier stabbed him in the rear with his bayonet. Merli refused to move while ignoring the severe pain, continued his planned actions of ultimate courage. The next day, the Germans sustained heavy losses and about 700 surrendered. When Merli's company, such as Sergeant Milton V. Kukutska, found him, he was covered in his assistant gunner's blood, and his clothing was in tatters from bayonet jabs. Around him, there were 52 dead Germans, with 19 directly in front of his gun. Later that day, the only request Merli had was to go to the nearest church to pray for soldiers, both American and German. This showed Merli's true colors of faith, integrity, and discernible humbling under God and fellow men. After the war, he is known to have received the communion every day, meditating on how to explain his actions to his creator and safeguard. Sergeant Kukutska in Scranton of 1945 went on to readily confirm the happenings of that night and stand up for his recommendation for the Medal of Honor. This is a picture of Gino Merli after the war, wearing the Medal of Honor along with his other 4 commemorations from World War II. Merli was born May 13, 1924 in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and died a few years ago, on June 11, 2002, at age 78. After his death, his story, along with Jack Montgomery's, became once more revived in newspapers such as the New York Times. Growing up in Peckville, he was only 18 when he enlisted for the U.S. Army and hadn't even finished high school. Yet, he became to be a hero still acknowledged today. Gino Merli didn't receive the Congressional Medal of Honor from President Truman until June 15, 1945. He also received other commemorations for his gallantry and intrepidity, such as 2 Purple Hearts, the Bronze Star, the Battle of the Bulge Medal, and the Humanitarian Award of the Chapel of 4 Chaplains for his actions during World War II. Nevertheless, throughout his life, Merli was entirely humble about his achievements and reluctantly talked about his actions in World War II. Whether this is because he tried to overlook his past, or he was truly a man of courteous demeanor, content with his surroundings, and subsequent in his hesitance to be boastful, is obviously indefinite to us. Nevertheless, from every resource notable, such as Sergeant Milton V. Kukutska, Tom Brokaw, and even Merli's own family, he is known to have been true to every fact stated. This is a picture of the Veterans Center in Scranton that was named after Merli in 2002, the year of his death. In this 200-room facility, Merli was an administrator and spent more than 3 decades helping the veterans recoup from both mental and physical injuries. Merli enjoyed helping these men return to society, but whenever they talked of their stories, he would never decisively talk of his. Merli also had other namesakes, such as Merli-Sinarski State Park, located in Fellow Township, and Gino Merli Drive in Peckville. One of his greatest honors was being the inspiration of Tom Brokaw's book, The Greatest Generation. Brokaw traveled to Normandy beaches in the company of Merli and walked the actual beach where Merli landed 20 years before. It was there that Merli told his story in such infallibility and devotion that Brokaw was immediately inspired to write his renowned book. Merli also explained that he could vividly remember every move and every second from 8 that evening to 9 that next morning. This final picture is an actual picture of Merli after his return home. It was September 9th, 1945, just a few months past his return, and he is found back in school completing his education. He is now 21 years old, and he is preparing himself for his currently hazy future, keeping in the optimism that he is becoming the man he strives to be. As he now tries to focus on his studies, he is often found contemplating on his actions in the war, lessening his attentiveness. Although the women around him seem to have no positive impact on that as well, it is obvious he has much more to think about. Presently, there have been 3,428 Medals of Honor given, and 324 are from the World War II era. Gino Merli's story is just one account, but I believe that he truly represents the gallantry of American troops and a man who has found himself simple throughout his entire life. With such a story stated, and that being that he's from our area, I hope Gino Merli can truly be recognized and reverenced, and that this has shown you a truthful perspective of one man's honor, divine integrity, and faith. Thank you.